Okay, so let's get started. This is the orientation session for St. John's Northwestern Academy students and parents to learn about the insurance coverage, the plan, what it covers, how it works, how to use it, and also how to get enrolled. So we're going to go over the companies involved, the insurance benefits and conditions, the services and pre-certification required, the plan coverage, a summary of the exclusions, the purchase process, how to seek medical care, what to do after receiving medical care, the contact information, and wrap it up with a Q&A. So first, I would like to share a bit more about the parties involved. So the first one would be St. John's Northwestern Academy, and you're familiar with them already. They're the institution who we partner with to provide the insurance plan for their students. We are Envisage Global Insurance. We are an insurance broker, which means that we provide the plan management services, including help with enrollments and providing service to students to learn more about the plan, answer any questions, and help triage any questions or service needs. So basically, if for some reason, for example, the insurance company is not responding, or if there are any issues, we would then act as a third party to make sure everything is running as smoothly as possible and that all of the plan terms are being applied as they should, as per the policy terms. And then we have Cigna. So Cigna is the insurance company or the plan administrator. And what that means is that they are the ones who are paying healthcare providers for the medical services needed by the students. And then we have the Cigna Healthcare Open Access Plus. That is just the name of the medical provider network in the United States. They're also called PPO, which is Preferred Provider Organization. So again, that would be the name that healthcare providers such as hospitals or clinics that they would recognize whenever students go seek care. And the information for the insurance company is the one that's going to be shown on each of the insurance ID cards. So whenever they talk about their plan, they should talk about Cigna as the provider of the insurance so that hospitals and clinics know who their insurance is through. Okay, so insurance terms. So I wanted to give a quick overview of some of the insurance terms we use to make sure you understand the plan coverage and what all of these words mean in case you're not familiar with insurance. So the first one we have here is a deductible, and that is a dollar amount an insured person is responsible for paying for their eligible medical expenses before the plan starts to pay on their behalf. Typically, this is a dollar amount. It can range anywhere from zero up to a couple hundred. It's maybe 50, 100, 250, depending on the plan. And again, that is a fixed amount that the students need to pay before the plan starts to pay for their eligible medical expenses. This amount is typically billed by the healthcare providers, meaning they need to pay this amount to the hospitals directly. If for some reason they're not charged for this amount, that doesn't mean that they're not responsible for it. That just means that it will be charged to them later once the claim is processed. Then we have the co-payment or copay. And this is a fixed amount that the student would need to pay each time they receive care for a specific service, and it will depend on the type of service they receive. So there may be copays for services such as a doctor's visit, or if they go to the emergency room. And as the word says, it's a copay, which is like a shared payment, and it's per visit. The deductible, for example, can be paid once per condition, once per illness, but the copay is once per visit. And then we have the co-insurance, which is a cost-sharing arrangement between the insurance company and the insured person. And this is typically expressed as a percentage amount. So, for example, the plan can have a 100 deductible, which again, that's paid to the provider directly. And after that, the co-insurance percentage would apply. It can be 100%, 80%, 90%, depending on the plan. And that applies after the deductible. And lastly, we have the maximum benefit limit, and that's just the maximum amount or the limit the insurance company will pay for covered medical expenses. And that may apply per injury, per illness, per policy year, or throughout the entire time the students are enrolled for. It depends on the plan, and we'll talk about the specifics of St. John's plan in a bit. Okay, so services. These are some of the services that are covered by the insurance plan, and that includes doctor's visits, hospitalizations, prescription medications, charges for surgery, mental health services, ambulance services, and more. So this is not the complete list. For the full list of benefits, please refer to the plan brochure that has been previously shared. And if you have any questions about the coverage or benefits, you may contact our team at the email address that's here, which is info@envisagewomaninsurance.com. Please note that the insurance company may require pre-certification for inpatient and outpatient services, depending on the nature of the services that are required inside of the US. To know if there are any pre-certification requirements for the services that they need, medical providers need to call Cigna as soon as reasonably possible to pre-certify. And they just need to call the phone number that's listed on the insurance ID card. And just a quick note, students are responsible for making sure that the out-of-network providers pre-certify services. We encourage using the plan network to avoid any additional steps, but if they decide to go out of network, just make sure they contact Cigna from the beginning to make sure they comply with all of the processes, including the pre-certification if required. So this is a summary of the main plan benefits. The plan provides coverage up to $250,000 with a deductible of $0, so you don't have to worry about that if you go in network. But if you do decide to go to a different provider that's not part of the plan network, the deductible would be $250. So we always encourage staying within the network. To know the providers that are part of the plan network, students can visit their student zone where they can find the hospital or doctor locator tool in the student zone. And they can also contact Cigna directly for assistance locating an in-network provider in their area. The other thing they can do to figure out if a provider is part of the plan network or not is just asking them if they accept Cigna as the insurance provider. Then we have the co-insurance, which is 100% for treatment obtained within the plan network and 80% for out-of-network providers. So again, staying within the network is always better to reduce the out-of-pocket expenses that they need to take care of. Outpatient services are also covered at 100%, and also inpatient hospital services, which include hospitalizations, surgery, and other services. The plan also covers prescriptions through the plan network. So they need to make sure to purchase their medications at the in-network pharmacies to make sure they don't have any issues with coverage of their prescriptions. And again, they can locate a pharmacy that's part of the plan on through their student zone. The plan also provides preventative care up to a maximum of $1,000. So this includes doctor's visits as well as immunizations if applicable. So just be mindful that preventative care is limited. So they need to make sure that the services provided are either lower than the coverage amount provided or just be mindful that anything exceeding 1,000 will be their responsibility. And then we have mental health. It's also covered at outpatient facilities with a limit of 10 visits, and mental health inpatient services are covered up to 10,000. And finally, we have outpatient therapy services, which include physical therapy, and the limit for that is 30 days of coverage. It's not that they're only covered for the first 30 days. It is that if they need physical therapy for 30 days, that would be the limit, 30 days of physical therapy, if that makes sense. Okay, now moving on to the exclusions of the plan. These are some of the most common exclusions. So anything related to vision, including corrective lenses, eyeglasses, frames, contact lenses, and whatnot, those are not covered by the plan, unfortunately. So they need to make sure to bring their prescription glasses from their home country, and also dental treatment and orthodontics. So typically anything that's routine dental care, or for example, treatment for cavities and things like that, those are not covered by the plan. So just make sure to have a cleaning and a checkup done before traveling for any of your dental needs. Maternity care is also not covered on the plan, as well as hearing exams or hearing devices, and generally speaking, just anything that is not medically necessary. For the full list of the exclusions, please refer to the plan brochure, the plan certificate, where you can see the complete list of what is not covered by the plan. Okay, and this is the student zone that I've been mentioning. And basically what this is it's a one-stop shop for anything related to their insurance plan. So here they can find the link to the provider locator tool. They can also learn more about the claims process, and also the link for the telemedicine services available. So here on the first logo that's here, Cigna Envoy, that's the name of the app. They can download to access the telemedicine services or the telecounseling services. And through the Cigna Envoy app, they can also locate providers, file a claim. So I would recommend that they download the Cigna Envoy app as soon as possible so that they can have it handy in case they need to seek medical care or file a claim. So if you scan this QR code, it will take you to the student zone where the purchase process will be taken care of. So I'm going to share a different screen to go over the purchase process. Okay. So again, this is a student zone. It has different sections. It is tailored to St. John's Northwestern Academy students, and it will take you to the plan that was selected by them to purchase. So the first step would be to register. So you have to click here. It will ask you for some general information. You can ignore my information here. So the username can be a random string of characters. It doesn't have to be an email address. And then just select a password, a primary email, and a recovery email so you can register. So once you complete this step, what we would need to do is just go back to the student zone and then click on log in. Once you complete the registration process and go to the login, you should be directed to this page here, which will allow you to purchase a plan. So once you're here, it's asking you to add coverage. We would just click on the icon here. And then the enrollment code was also shared on the brochure, and it's on the presentation, which is John's NW. Make sure not to add spaces either before or after, otherwise it will not work. And then here you would pop in the student's personal information the same way it appears on their passport. So we need first name, middle name, last name, date of birth, gender, if they want to be, if they have a gender X preference or not, a valid email address. The email doesn't need to be the student's. It's recommended that you use the student's email address because they'll be getting notifications to this address. And also the confirmation of purchase will be going to the email that you put in here. So we highly recommend it's the student's email, but if you think they'll not be checking and you want to make sure you get all of the notifications, you can use your own email address here. And then the phone number. This one can be either a phone number in the US or a non-US number. That's perfectly fine. We just like to have contact information in case we need to help with claims filing or reaching out to healthcare providers to make sure they have the right insurance information and submit the bills for payment to the insurance company. So I would recommend using the student's best way to contact them. These can also be like the host family's phone number or whatever you think would work better to connect with the student directly. And then here on coverage date ranges, make sure to choose fall. Actually, you would not be able to select any other coverage period. So just select fall. It will auto-populate the coverage period here. And then it's just asking for more information. Are you a US citizen? You would click on no. What's your home country name? Are you traveling to the US? And this is just for eligibility purposes. We know the students are traveling to the US, but we need them to mark this as yes. And then on the mailing address, again, this can be either a US address or a non-US address. That's perfectly fine. Just make sure to include all of the information here, including the postal code and the country name and state name. So once you select a country name, you will also be asked to choose the state. So please make sure to select from the drop-down list that's going to show up here for both country and state. Otherwise, it's going to throw an error and the application is not going to go through. And then here on billing address, you can choose the same as the mailing, or you can provide a different billing address if you need for the payment process. Just be mindful that we do need the billing address. So any address that is tied to the payment method that you're using should be the one that you're putting in here, especially for verification purposes. The application is going to look for the postal code to match the postal code on the payment method that you're using. So make sure to include that information. So once you have completed all of this, click on save, and then save and continue would take you to the payment process for you to enter your card details. And once that's completed, you will be getting an email with the confirmation, including a copy of the insurance ID card and the plan, the link to the student zone. Okay, so, and you can also download a copy of the plan brochure through here. So if you would like to learn more about the plan, just click on that link and it will take you to the brochure, which has the coverage information, the pricing as well. Everything is on the brochure. Now let's dive into how to use the plan. So for any non-emergency illnesses or injuries or any minor conditions, we recommend using the telemedicine services available. They're provided at no extra cost. They can request an appointment from the comfort of their phone or computer, and these providers can also prescribe medication. So they would just need to provide the a name or location for the pharmacy they would like to pick up their prescription at, and it would be the same process as if they were to seek care in person. If for some reason they need to be seen in person, we would recommend using an urgent care, going to a walk-in clinic, scheduling a doctor's appointment, and as the last resort, going to the emergency room. So for anything that is urgent, that the students need immediate care for, we recommend using the urgent care or a walk-in clinic. They're more convenient. They don't need to make an appointment. They can just show up and wait to be seen. And the wait times at these two providers are going to be way less than if they go to the emergency room. The emergency room should be reserved for any life-threatening situations. So if there is like a bone exposed or if the life is in the line, then they should go to the emergency room. Otherwise, the doctors are not going to look at them. It's going to take them a few hours to be seen, and it's going to cost more. So we always recommend trying an urgent care or a walk-in clinic first and leaving the emergency room for any true emergency situations. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting there for hours, trust me. And they can also schedule an appointment with the doctor if it's something that can wait. So that's also an option if they would like. And for the prescriptions, they just need to go to an in-hour pharmacy to fill their prescription. And again, through the Cigna app or through the Student Zone, they can find the link to locate a pharmacy in their area. But to be in general terms, any CVS, Walgreens, or even Walmart, those are typically in-network. So those are safe options for students to fill their prescriptions at. After receiving medical care, we recommend that they register for their Cigna Envoy account if they haven't already, to start the online claims process. Typically, claims are processed within about 10 days, which is a very, very quick turnaround time. So they need to be checking their claims periodically to make sure they're processed. Or if the insurance company needs any additional information, they need to be providing that as soon as possible so that the claims process is as smooth as possible. That additional information can include completing a claim form, providing medical records, receipts, or even banking information for reimbursement of any out-of-pocket costs. And through the app, they can upload all of these necessary information. The claim form is typically an online questionnaire, so they don't have to complete an actual PDF form. They just have to go into the portal, answer questions about the condition, how they received care, and things like that. So it's very convenient to do it all through the app. And finally, to contact the insurance company, they can use the numbers here, which will also be listed on their Student Zone and their insurance ID card. They can contact them to confirm their coverage or benefits. If they have any specific questions about seeking care for a condition, whether or not a service is covered, they should be contacting Cigna for this information once they are enrolled in the plan. They can also ask for help contacting a hospital or clinic to help arrange direct billing. And this is typically only for out-of-network providers. For in-network providers, they are set up with Cigna already, so they can submit bills right away for them to process. They should also contact Cigna to initiate the pre-certification for any procedures or services in case it's needed. Again, to locate a provider in their area or to check on the status of their claims or in case they have any questions about how they were processed. They're available 24/7 for emergency situations. For non-emergency things such as checking on the status of claims, they need to wait for business hours to be able to get assistance on those questions. And now we have the Q&A. So I'm going to be going through the chat and see if there are any questions there. Okay, so I have one. It says, so a child who is ill makes the call to Cigna to pre-certify, not a caregiver, teacher, or parent. Yeah, so anyone with the student, anyone accompanying the student can make the call to Cigna to pre-certify. And typically, if they look in their school, they will contact me directly for assistance for any major situation. So if an accident happened, if they need a surgery, they should be contacting the school in case there's no one with them that can complete the pre-certification. We can do it for them. We just need to be made aware of the situation. But to be honest, anyone, including the hospital, a friend, a relative, can start a pre-certification by contacting Cigna and providing the hospital or the clinic's contact information. But the easiest way to do it is to have the hospital start the pre-certification. So I would recommend just asking the school or the hospital or clinic to contact Cigna to pre-certify or just make them aware of the situation, basically. Okay, so I have a question here. How much does the plan cost? And if the plan is billed per month. Okay, so I'm going to share a different screen. Just give me 1 second. So I have a copy of the plan brochure here with all of that information. So you should have received a copy. If not, you can go to the student zone. I'll share the QR code again so you can scan that and go there directly. But so this is the plan, and this is some general information on how to use it, the claims, the student zone, the benefits, and then after the benefits table, we have the pricing details. Okay, so the pricing is $8.73 per day. And if you go through the purchase process, it will give you a quote before you need to put in the payment information. So you can also go that way. That would give us a total of roughly $2,500, so $2,479.32. That would be the cost. Yes, 2,500. That's what I'm getting. And it's a one-time payment, yes. So it's upfront payment for the whole period. And that is just to ensure that the coverage doesn't lapse, because typically if we allow for monthly payments, then the plan can lapse due to non-payment if the cards don't have sufficient funds when the next payment is charged. And that would be a liability for both the student and the school, because students would not be covered for a specific period. And if the plan lapses, there can be pre-existing conditions issues. So we want to avoid all of that by enabling the one-time payment. Yes, if you have any questions about the payment and the cost of the plan and all of that, please refer to Juan, who sent the email for this session for any questions or feedback on that, please. And then, do they have options to pay for the summer as well? So if your student is arriving early, we would need to take this question again to Juan for him to confirm whether or not they can be enrolled during the summer. Okay. And then I have another question here. Hospital contact Cigna for pre-certification before they provide care to students if they are out of network. So for out of network providers, that's a very good question. They can or cannot ask for upfront payment before they see students. And that is totally understandable because they don't have a signed contract with the insurance company. A lot of times, US providers do not require upfront payment for most of the services, but if they do, because they are out of network, they can. The student would need to file for reimbursement or contact Cigna to set up the direct billing if possible. So Cigna is always willing to call providers to set up direct billing, but it's up to the hospital, the clinic, or the facility whether or not they want to coordinate with the insurance company to set up direct billing, since they don't have a direct billing agreement. So it's totally up to them, but they can set it up so that they don't have to pay upfront for services. Okay, so we are at 36 minutes. If there are no any other questions, I will let me go back and share again a copy of the slide with the link to the student zone so you can start the purchase process. That would be this one here. And again, if you have any questions, it's info@envisageGlobalinsurance.com that you need to contact about questions about the purchase, or if you have any general questions about the plan. For anything related to the pricing or the setup, please go back to St. John's Northwestern Academy for those questions. Only send insurance-related questions to this email here. Okay, so that is, okay, so I have one more question. I'm going to wait a few seconds because there is a delay on how soon the session allows you to send questions. So I'm going to hang out here just for a few. Okay. Okay, so that's a good question. So I have here a question about when or under what circumstances they need to pre-certify. To be honest, pre-certification is required for large bills or large or high cost services such as MRIs or CT scans, surgeries, hospitalizations. Most of the times, I would say those are the services that need to be pre-certified. But they can also request pre-certification for other things such as physical therapy and things like that. So my advice would be to always contact Cigna before receiving services, just to make sure they're covered or to know if they need pre-certification whenever possible. I completely understand that if it's an emergency or if they're hospitalized and under anesthesia, or they just passed out, for example, they're not going to be able to pre-certify, and that is fine. We just need the hospital to connect with Cigna as soon as possible to confirm benefits and to initiate pre-certification if needed. And if they go in network, they're going to contact Cigna and they're going to be up to speed on their case. So my advice would be go in network and make sure they contact Cigna as soon as possible about the medical services they need. Yes, so pre-certification is typically required for services that can be scheduled. But again, for any emergency situations, they don't have to worry about that because, of course, the most important part is receiving care. So I understand that if they have an accident and they're hospitalized, they're not going to be thinking about these kinds of things. So just looping in your school for them to contact us and make sure all of the back-end stuff is taken care of for you. For in-network providers, again, they're typically, they're already talking to Cigna, so you don't have to worry about those much. It's mainly for out-of-network or high-dollar bills or anything that is serious, like surgeries, hospitalizations, and things like that. So I hope that answers that question. But again, for any additional questions, please send us an email or go to St. John's about any questions about the pricing, the coverage period, and whatnot. Okay, I have a question here about the coverage period selected by the school, and that is August 17, 2026 through May 27, 2027, which is about 284 days. Okay, and well, that is it for me. Thank you again for joining the session. If you would like to join the Spanish session again, you can do that. It's going to be the same information, but in Spanish. That's going to be taking place on the 14th. So if you can make it, you're welcome to join us again for more information about the plan. Thank you again, and please, I hope the students enjoy their stay in the US and stay safe.